Hi guys, thanks for joining me on this webinar. And I have to warn you that it's lengthy, but it's without a doubt going to give you the top secrets for turning your practice into a money printing machine that will offer you and your staff all the stability and job satisfaction you want. Now, I'm not saying this easily, as I've literally spent weeks scouring YouTube and dental forums to come up with 10 or more secrets from your most experienced colleagues around the world and what they've done to build multi-million-dollar practices. Not only once, but twice in most cases. And you know the saying that experience comes from learning from your own mistakes, and wisdom comes by learning from the mistakes of others. So if you want to shave years from your journey of trial and expensive errors and discover what works to build a multi-million-dollar practice today, then please kick back and relax, because I'm going to tell you what it takes. So I don't want to be rude, but let me start by asking, are you worried about money? And what I mean is whether you have any uncertainty that you'll be able to pay your bills should something happen to your business, like if a competitor moves in to a territory or some corporate starts undercutting you for your signature dental services. Or maybe you've put your heart and soul into your practice and corporates are starting to buy up all the practices in your area. And you wonder if you'd be able to hold on and keep owning the dream of being a solo dental practitioner who operates on your own terms. Or maybe you've just graduated and you're faced with the prospect of trying to work for the corporates or taking out a huge loan and buying a practice. But you don't know how you'll make it with all the competition and the blood of dentists and the corporatization in your area. So perhaps you've been running your practice for years already and you're getting close to the age where you want to retire. But despite your best efforts, you haven't managed to put away a large enough nest egg yet, and you wish you could find a way to boost your revenue substantially so you can sell out and go fishing. Or maybe you've been running your practice for some time now, and you're having problems with your staff, attitude and behavior, and not enough new patients every week, and you wish you could find a way to revitalize yourself and your practice so you can start earning the profits that will lead you to all those personal goals you've been putting on the back burner for years now. Well, whatever the situation is that's causing you to look for ways of increasing your profits, you'll be very happy to know that you are here listening to what I have to say, because I spent months now scouring, as I said, all the books, videos, and online forums, looking for the most powerful secrets that the super successful dentists have implemented in their practices. And that has not only lifted their revenue into the stratosphere, but allowed them to create job satisfaction and stability for themselves and all their staff. So what I'm going to do is share a list of 10 most powerful secrets that you should implement in your practice right now, and which is from all accounts guaranteed to boost your revenue and new patients by 300%. More or less, within mere weeks of being implemented and used properly. Now, as you all know, miracles don't exist. And just as is the case with thousands of treadmills standing in people's lounge rooms and being used as clothes hangers, the fact is that if you don't keep at it, and if you don't do it properly, you'll not be getting the results that you want. So the next thing you may be wondering is why you're listening to me, and the fact is you don't. Because I'm not sharing my own experiences, but rather the experiences of your most well-respected colleagues around the world. And not only that, these are dentists that have achieved results in their own practices that most dentists only dream of. With the info I'm going to give you, you too can now stop dreaming and start reaching for your own spectacular results. Because what one man can do, another can do. And in actual fact, most of the secrets here are incredibly simple to implement. All it takes is the desire and the discipline to get this done in your practice. On the other hand, right at the end, I'm going to show you some online and offline marketing secrets that I recommend you take advantage of right now. And here you may want to listen to me, because these are all secrets that I've discovered over the last 35 years of having to come up with real-world marketing solutions that work for my own businesses. My name is Hilton Holder, a South African-born family man and serial entrepreneur who moved to the Australian Gold Coast 17 years ago. And other than for the fact that I love watching clinical dental procedure videos on YouTube, I'm not a dentist, or not even a dental technician. Over the last 35 years, though, I've had some spectacular business successes, including founding 2 document imaging companies that went on to be listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. However, I've also had my share of failures. There's a saying that says that the master has failed more times than the novice has tried. And this you may have found is true for anyone who keeps trying until they succeed. Now I have to admit that even though the successes were fantastic, it's during the failure that the pain forces you to find the knowledge and the courage required to once again find success. And those who fail, those who give up, they fail automatically. Hence the saying that if you're going through hell, keep going. The bottom line is that you either pay the price for success or you will pay the price for failure. And the reason I'm sharing this is that one of my failures actually involved trying to sell intraoral cameras to dentists around 5 years ago. Now this came about from big government shutting down one of my previous businesses in which I was manufacturing digital microfilm scanners, which used the digital cameras from a new genre of affordable intraoral cameras I was sourcing from Taiwan. I was supplying these to libraries and genealogy societies in Queensland, and our Premier, in an effort to prop up their bankrupt solar panel rebate scheme, decided to reroute all the funding away from libraries and genealogy societies. So unfortunately for me, these were my only clients. And just like that, overnight, they destroyed my business. So with my business destroyed, and with me looking for a new opportunity, I decided to sell these intraoral cameras to dentists. And as luck would have it, my timing was rotten because it's just at that stage that our government declared a deadline on rebates for those suffering from chronic dental conditions. And for about 6 months, dentists everywhere in Australia were fully booked from 7 in the morning till 7 at night. I couldn't get to see a dentist, more so than an intraoral camera for love or money. Luckily, I found something else with which to bounce back, and which was very successful. Anyway, I don't want to dwell too long on failure. I'm here to teach you what's required for you to be successful. And so I'm going to start off by incorporating this video from Dr. Bill Williams, known as the $10,000 a day dentist, who has built up many practices from scratch and sold them for tens of millions of dollars. And his list of 5 secrets include, first of all, the right team, the right mindset, number 3 is the right marketing, and the right capacity, and the right facilities. Now, I'll speed the video up a bit, but you can follow the links below if you want to watch the whole interview later. It's very instructive, to say the least, and the advice comes from a true professional who has made it his business to find out what works, and he has the proof to back it up.
So Solstice Dental Advisors. So let's talk about the 5 things. You said you have the right team, the right mindset, the right marketing, the right capacity, the right facility. Let's just take one at a time. Team. If I lined up 100 dentists, I said, what keeps you up at night the most? It's always HR. It's always staff. They always have a pit in their stomach. What would you say about that?
Hire 10s. If you don't have 10s, make them 10s. We hire 7s and make them 10s. We get rid of anything that's a 6 or below. So we don't work with losers. We work with winners. That's probably the biggest part of it. A lot of dentists just don't settle for the right person when they hire.
A lot of successful people like you, the leadership has been growing for decades. How would you speed up the leadership qualities of a 25-year-old dentist that just walked out of school in May, and she's 5 foot tall and 100 pounds? How can she just be a leader? Like, what's the fastest way to ramp her up to lead a team of people?
Sit down in a meeting and set a vision.
With a team?
Yeah, put your vision on paper and get buy-in for the team and tell them that this is the direction we're going, and be the captain of your boat. Don't be at the effect of everything. Don't be an emotional wreck. Just learn to be a leader from the very beginning. Set the tone, set the stage, bring in the systems. Insist that this team learns your systems and hold them accountable for those systems. And one of the reasons we grew so big and so fast was because of the key performance indicators, the KPI. We measure everything and we understand why things work. When they don't work, we can fix them quickly.
Do you believe in the old adage, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so do I.
I also believe that staff who are not motivated by playing the game probably are not going to win. So you need to have a game to play. And we always found that if we had a great game to play, we won huge. So we always took our staff to Hawaii or to Quisley or to Cabo San Lucas or Jamaica. We take them on a yearly trip because we want to win big. Everybody likes to play a game.
Well said. And your Falcons are playing very well this year. We won't bring up my Arizona Cardinals because I'm so jealous of your Falcons. What about mindset? So you have the right mindset. Is that having the game plan?
That's number 1 for me. Mindset means you believe you can do it. And so you have to set yourself up for success by having the belief in your own self that you're the best dentist in town. That you've got the best team in town. Your team has to reflect that to the patients. And as soon as the patients understand that you're the best in town, then everything else is downhill. You're not having to sell dentistry when you're the best. Now, if you think somebody next door is better, you gotta work uphill.
What's amazing is, Muhammad Ali, after he retired, was just such a humble man. But as we knew him, he was always, I am the greatest. And it turned out I was always saying that because I wanted to believe it. I had to say it all day long because I had to believe it. I wasn't saying that to you. I was saying that to the world to make me believe it. Isn't that amazing? And then as soon as that game was over, he was retired. He was the most humble, quiet, shyest guy around.
That's just like you and me outside of dentistry. We're humble.
Yeah, I'm short, fat, bald, and humble. What marketing? A lot of people say that they don't know what's changed more in our several decades doing this, especially at periodontics or dental marketing. Those marketing has changed so much. I mean, when you and I got out, the pioneers were doing yellow pages. What works in marketing today for you?
Facebook is big, and direct mail is still big. I've got a thing called web-centric marketing where everything points back to the website. And used to be I had a big advantage over everybody because I was early on. Now, you got to have a big footprint in social media as well as the website. So I like Facebook, number 1.
I think it's funny where I notice that millennials are always saying, direct mail, that's dead. It's dead because people are projections. They always project their own thoughts. So if you're a millennial and you think going out to the mailbox and throwing all that crap away, well, that's you. You're not a 50-year-old, a 60-year-old, a 70-year-old. But every dental marketing expert I talk to says direct mail is still alive. And if 99% of people that receive it think it's junk and throw it away, but 1% comes in, it's a slot machine. I mean, direct mail is one of those things where 99% of the market can hate it, and it's still a cash cow, isn't it?
I get as many from direct mail as any other thing I do other than direct referrals. We get 50% of our patients from direct referrals from patients. And the rest of it comes from direct mail, radio, TV, social media.
And social media, Facebook is the main player there?
It is, by far.
Because I know you're big on LinkedIn, but you're not getting clients on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I work LinkedIn because of my consulting with dentists. On LinkedIn, my bio, my profile says I'm the dental Batman. I'm a dentist by day, and that means I'm Bruce Wayne doing the average dentist thing. But then at night, I'm Batman teaching dentists how to be wild.
And what do you think of these low-life, scummy dentists who think Superman is greater than Batman? Don't you just want to smack them?
No, Batman's a lot better.
I know.
He had a pal. He had Robin.
There's just some things you can't teach a dentist, and Batman is number 1. So back to facility and capacity is the last 2. Talk about facility and capacity.
Yeah, you have bottlenecks. You got to get rid of your bottlenecks. And if you don't have enough chairs, you have a bottleneck. If you don't have enough staff people to run them, you got a bottleneck. And so the dentist that wants to be productive has to have enough chairs to put people to do the job at hand. And so you need at least 4 chairs, and you need your hygiene space too.
I know. I tell everybody that works at Patterson, Shine, Benco, Burkhardt, I said, you're in there trying to sell them a laser or CAD cam or all this stuff, and the number 1 thing I always see in every office is the dentist's making 35%, staff's making 28%, lab man's making 10%, Sunder's making 6 or 7, and everybody's standing around waiting for an operatory. And if you, I mean, it's like, where is operatories on your cost? Why do I have, when you see labor, your number one cost, which the dentist was at, when you see labor waiting on a chair, and then I go up front and some toothache's on there. Well, can I come down now? And they're looking for an open chair. Well, there's nowhere I can squeeze you in today. My God, why isn't there an emergency room? And then the dentist says, well, I'm too busy. Well, have you heard of no-shows and cancellations? And, so put them in there and half the time, that you can't see them, you get a no-show cancellation or someone doesn't get numb, you gotta give them a booster shot. I mean, an extra operatory is the number one return on investment in most dental offices. Would you agree with that or disagree?
Totally agree. I try to consult with dentists in Australia or in Great Britain. And the one thing they always try to tell me is we don't have enough room. They always have one or two offices all they have. They can't do more dentistry because they don't have enough room. And so, at least in the United States, we have more rooms. But sometimes it's in the mindset of the dentist as to how many operatories they need. They think they can afford to have another one. They cannot afford to have another one, actually.
Yeah, I've been in Australia, France, Italy, while some dentist is telling me that he doesn't have room for an operatory. And it's like, dude, I've never seen a private office this big in America. I mean, not only could your office be a room, this office might be 2 hygiene rooms.
Absolutely. And one thing that's real funny over there in Great Britain especially is they might have 5 dentists working out of one office. And it has 3 operatories. And they rotate all through it. Yeah. So they're very under facility. What's the word?
Crazy.
They're poorly set up in their facilities. They can do so much better.
Well, I think I'm talking about Batman. I think it'd be more accurate to say they're batshit crazy. I mean, that's because I've seen it in Singapore, Japan. It's like, okay, you got 5 dentists working out of a 4 operatory facility. Do you really think those operatories cost more than 4 or 5 doctors? I mean, show me on the grease board. Tell me how you think. I need to see how your brain works because this, and it'd be like a nuclear power, a service like dentistry or a restaurant. Your costs are people. I mean, it's labor, lab, supplies. Where the other, so our number one cost, 80% of our cost is variable costs. Labor, lab, supplies, not fixed costs, rent, mortgage, facility operate. Whereas the other, let's say a nuclear power plant, it costs $10 billion to build that nuclear power plant. That'd be like saying, well, we have to turn it off on Christmas because if we paid our workers on Christmas, we'd have to pay them double time due to union laws. Yeah, dude, after you bought a $10 billion factory, your fixed cost is your whole model. No one gives a shit what the double time, triple time cost is of some guy running it on Christmas or New Year's. So we're not a nuclear power plant or an assembly line. We're a service, and our cost is labor, variable cost, labor, lab, supplies. And I don't think, I bet you 80% of the offices that I see in any given year, need 1 operator. And usually by the time the dentist figures out they need an extra operatory, at that point already need like 2.
Hey, I want to give you a good example on the same vein. Marketing. The single best marketing you can have is fixed cost. It's your sign outside on the road. Number one thing is what it looks like when people drive by. If you have a visible sign that's really attractive, you draw people in and it doesn't cost you a penny more for the next 20 years.
Great point. I would end on one last thing because I try to figure out how my homies think because you got to get past how they think. And I think what they think, the reason they don't put in a chair is because they say, yeah, but I have 4 chairs and half the time I'm not even using 2 of them. And that is basically, think of a bank. There's 160 hours in a week. The drive-thru's got 3 lanes. They only use the 3 lanes on Fridays when everybody gets paid. The rest of the week, the other 160 hours are using 1 lane. And so your facility has to match the flow. So I don't care that you have 4 operatories and you almost never use 1. That's matching total demand with total capacity. You have to match total demand with the total flow. So you might almost always have an empty room, but if there's 2 or 3 times a week where you are down 2 rooms, your capacity is not matching the extreme flows.
That's accurate. You want to staff for maximum efficiency and maximum patient flow. And you want to build your facility for maximum usage.
Okay, well, we went over time. You promised me an hour, and I'm already at hour 5. Final question. What do you mean by, we talked about the team, the mindset, the marketing, the facility. But what do you really mean by capacity?
That's the great divider between the men and the boys, the girls and the women. Some dentists can do it, some can't. So I've had about 20 associates over 40 years, and I've watched people work real close up. And I've noticed that there's certain capacity that some dentists have to multitask, and others can't. And so you have to know within yourself what you can do. Now, you can train yourself to do some of these things. Multitasking is just one of them. But if you can have a slow heartbeat and be in the middle of some difficult surgery, then your capacity is higher. But if you get nervous and sweat and worry, then your capacity is lower. Can you move around between the operatories? Can you multitask? Can you think about what's going on in room A, B, and C at the same time? And when you learn how to judge if you have the capacity to do that, then you become capable of having these big days. Can you see yourself doing $10,000 a day every day? Sure.
So, if you watch this video, you would have heard Dr. Williams say that in regards to staff, he hires 7s and trains them until they are 10s. And that he always says huge incentives for them, such as winning Vegas holidays or similar. He also says that you have to believe that you are the best. So you have to do what it takes to develop that belief that you're the best, or you'll have a hard time convincing others that you're the best. As for his third point, the right marketing, you will notice he mentions Facebook as being huge at the moment, with direct mail still bringing very profitable results, and that your outdoor sign remains one of your marketing tools that brings the best bang for your buck, and for 10 to 20 years at a time. He also mentions that you have to be able to track every single key performance indicator, as well as your incoming leads, because if you can't measure it, you cannot manage it. Next, he mentions the right capacity. And here he's talking about developing the skills and the mindset and the temperament that gives you the ability to truly produce massive value on a personal level, the way he does $10,000 per day as a matter of routine. He also mentions the right facilities, with an emphasis on having an extra operatory or even 2, and that your investment in extra rooms and matching them to your maximum flow is one of the best investments you can make, no matter if you're only using 1 room during some days. So right here, I just want to let you know that we've partnered with the very best providers of online staff training, and also with the provider of the world's foremost consultant on the aspects of maximizing flow through your organization. You can follow the links later, but please stick with us, as I have a lot more secrets to share with you. Now we're going to look at what technology out there could give you the upper hand and leave your competitors in the dust, not only from the point of view of increasing your clinical efficiency, but also how you can use it as a master salesman for your practice and to increase your case acceptance to the point where you can just about sign up everyone you see. Now, most of these tools fall under the category of magnification and presentation, but the new game changer would have to be the cone beam CT machine. I know they used to be hellishly expensive, but you can now get full featured models for only about $80,000 or $1,500 per month if you lease it. And this investment will literally allow you to bring in as many clients as you want. Not to mention the fact that it will help you discover cases at a rate that will put your practice growth on a rocket ship. Of course, it also turns into a clinical ninja. And if you want to watch the following video, you'll see that Dr. Patel, one of the pioneers who implemented CBCT in 2008 already, confirms that if someone had to take his cone beam machine, he would walk away from dentistry.
This is only going to work if you get into implants.
Absolutely not. No.
Absolutely not.
That's what I thought when I got it. See, I got it because I thought I wanted to plan my implants so that when I sent patients to my surgeons, they would make sure that the implants end up exactly what I needed them. Because at the end of the day, I've got to put a tooth on that implant. And the patient's ability to judge if the implant was successful or not doesn't come from the surgery, it comes from what the tooth looks like. And I think you and I both know we have plenty of phenomenal surgeons out there, but on the occasion where an implant doesn't end up where it exactly should go, you can see it because the tooth doesn't look like a tooth. And so I thought that I was getting cone beam so I could help make sure that my surgeons place implants exactly where they needed it. And then when I learned more about the technology and as I was scanning patients, I realized actually this is my primary diagnostic tool. It is my go-to imaging device for patients who need endo, for patients who have sinus discomfort, patients who have an abscess, pain, TMD, patients who are looking at orthodontic evaluation, looking at periodontal disease, even looking at patients' airway. So if a patient says, I'm finding that I'm waking up with headaches, or my wife's telling me I'm grinding my teeth, I'm actually comfortable discussing their airway because I can show them their airway in 3D and talk to them about the possibilities of maybe getting a sleep study. Whereas before, if I asked some dude, hey, how are you sleeping at night, he'd look at me really weird. Why is my dentist asking me how I'm sleeping? But when I can show them a visual aid of their actual airway in 3D, it really helps to facilitate.
So if the lease limit was 1,500 to 2,500,
you're looking at 20 scans.
You have to do 15, 20 scans.
Yeah.
So you have to have 20 new patients. What percent of new patients do you recommend getting if they only have 2D, getting a plan on FMS versus a 3D?
So I think the listeners have to understand that I've been through this roller coaster ride. When I first opened up my shop, I was setting my fee at $400, and I was honestly shooting myself in the foot. Because when I told a patient, hey, it's $400 per scan, so I can tell you what your needs are, it was a hurdle so high that unfortunately some patients didn't move forward because they didn't justify paying $400 just to take an image. Because insurance at that point in time is not covering these fees at a normal basis. So when I started doing that, I realized I set the hurdle too high. Then year 2 came along and I made a second mistake. My second mistake was, I said, let's just do it for free. Here's why I said, let's give it away for free, which is also a mistake. I'll get into that in just a moment. I gave it away for free because what I've noticed in those patients the year previous to that, when I was charging $400, those patients that actually paid for the scan, I had almost 100% case acceptance, regardless of what I presented, whether it was endodontic treatment all the way up to a full mouth rehab. I had close to 100% case acceptance. And I was not able to decipher it was because I qualified the patient as someone who had the means to do the treatment I was recommending by setting that $400 fee, or if there was something really related to having an opportunity to discuss their treatment in 3D and the patient can actually see what I was doing that caused their increase in case acceptance. So the second year, I decided to give it away for free in hopes that every patient would say yes to treatment. And that was a great mistake, but a bad mistake. I literally went from 30 to 40 new patients a month to 300 patients a month because I was providing free consultation with 3D. And patients were actually doing the marketing. I wasn't doing any flyers, radio, TV, or anything like that. I was literally scanning patients, and they were going home because I provided them a copy of their 3D scan. And, for example, if an engineer came in with a toothache, I'd scan him, talk to him about his needs in 3D, and he just ate it up. And I'd burn it to a CD, gave him the software, and he would take it back to work, wherever his engineering firm was, sit down in his cubicle, pop it in the computer the next day, all of his buddies in his work environment would hover around his computer looking at his scan. And lo and behold, that week I get 3 or 4 phone calls from that one patient, and that's how I grew my practice. The problem was I couldn't manage the growth. I was scanning every Joe, Schmo, left and right, and I didn't have the time to spend evaluating each patient, providing a comprehensive treatment plan, and not knowing whether they were actually going to afford the treatment or not. Okay? So I decided on year 3, instead of shooting high and then giving away for free, let's figure out a price point where most patients are willing to accept it. And what I said is, let's set it at the PAN fee. Because in their eyes, it's a PAN. And in the insurance eyes, they might consider to downgrade it to a PAN. So I said, let's just give it away at a PAN fee. Well, what I noticed was patients were accepting when I recommended they needed the scan, they would take it without question. And the second thing is I started to control and calibrate my practice to make sure that the patients were of the mindset of doing comprehensive treatment. So I realized quickly that, I could probably pay for my machine by just taking scans and charging an appropriate fee for it. The reality is that patients were saying yes to treatment at 95% case acceptance rate. So the patients that we were seeing, at first I was scanning them with the intent for planning implants or evaluating some trauma or an abscess, and I realized that what I was learning in scanning patients, I could use this for everybody. So this is where it's going to raise a few eyebrows. I scan all my patients. It is my primary, all my new patients. With this system, literally an implant consult, the first visit, in a 30-minute appointment, I can have the surgical guide already ordered. The very next visit, granted they don't need hard tissue or soft tissue augmentation, I'm ready to go ahead and jump right into implantology. And that's the real benefit, is that today, patients I think are really willing to do high-end dentistry if you make it worth from a time standpoint. Because time is the issue, it's not the money, at least from my observation. Yeah, money's always going to be an important factor when it comes to paying for ideal dentistry. But if you can show them how they can save them time, and instead of a 3-hour visit, it can be an hour and a half total, that's where patients really appreciate the technology, let's put it that way. See? And I kid you not, I'm obviously biased. I love cone beam so much, but I've seen what it does for practices. It transforms them. Not only does it transform the doctor, but more importantly, the team that supports that doctor all of a sudden is reinvigorated because this new piece of technology really brings a lot to the table for the team that supports that dentist. And so, I think at the end of the day, we have to forget about what we've been told about cone beam because a lot of us fear cone beam. We're afraid of scanning a patient and missing a brain tumor, when in reality, it's a hard tissue imaging device, and a dentist has every capacity to learn how to interpret the images, and it's so easy. The learning curve is actually much shorter and smaller than CAD/CAM, for sure. And if we can realize that cone beam can be a primary diagnostic tool in dentistry for all facets, pediatric assessment, orthodontics, endodontics, oral surgery, periodontics, endo, the applications are immense, not just about implants. But when you add implants, it's icing on the cake. Cone beam will transform just about any practice that chooses to integrate it. There's a lot of clinicians who buy it just to keep up with the dentist down the road. That's the wrong way to look at it. If you get into cone beam, you have to make a decision to integrate it the way it was designed. What I mean by that is to utilize it on a consistent basis, to use it for your patients in the diagnostics and the treatment planning, and realize its potential uses moving forward, and have a team that supports you also adopt it and make recommendations for patients who are in need of any of those given procedures. So I think that it's one of those things that all of us as dentists, our primary objective, as a general dentist speaking, Our primary objective for our patient is to supply them with the best diagnostic information and a treatment plan for what their needs might be. And if we don't even have the best diagnostic tools in our practice, how can we actually provide the best level of dentistry? Yeah.
So how does CBC look at a molar window? I mean, I've heard things that they have to be a specific size before you can see a missing canal or an MB2 or a fracture.
Yeah, there's a lot of parameters that go into it. But the reality is that I think it takes the fear of unknown out of evaluating our patients. Whether it's for an endo treatment or evaluation of a wisdom tooth that's related to the inferior nerve, having an opportunity to see everything in 3D takes that unknown out of the equation. And that allows us to speak more confidently when we're recommending a treatment. For example, you come in and say, hey, I have a wisdom tooth that's bothering me. I'll say, well, it's really close to the nerve. I'm just going to send you to an oral surgeon. Versus when I show you your image and show you the relationship and then address it and say, this is why I want to send you to an oral surgeon. Or perhaps this is why I know I can do this because it's not closely related to that inferior nerve, so it would be safe for us to do this. Having that level of confidence speaks miles for patients. And I think that when they see a confident dentist, you see the team confident, you see the dentist being confident, patients are starting to say yes to treatment. And I often say, a lot of clinicians come and say, well, in my area, why we don't have these kinds of patients that just say yes to dentistry. I say, no, you do. You just don't communicate and exude the confidence that it takes for your patients to say yes. If you go in there unsure, questioning the treatment, not sure as to if they need a bone graft or they do need a bone graft. I mean, would you drop $5,000 and say, we'll figure it out when we flap you open? You know what I mean? That's no way to build a relationship with the patient who's going through this process and who's really under the knife. But if you can go in there and tell them with great precision as to what's going to happen, that level of confidence is best for a good relationship with the patient. But watch what happens to the team. When the team sees your level of confidence having these kind of technologies, they start to recommend the treatment to your patient because they're, like you had mentioned this morning in your lecture, when the doctor leaves the room, what happens? The assistant and the patient have a communication that either lets the patient say, yes, we're going to move forward, or, this doctor's never done this procedure, get the hell out of here before he does something to you type of a relationship. And you know what I'm talking about. But when the team embraces the technology along with the doctor, that's when a practice can really sing. That's where the best of the best.
You're young, you're energetic, you're crushing it on so many levels. Thank you so much for coming down here and lecturing for me twice. But there's a burned out dentist there out in rural America. He's 40 to 50. He's been flat for a decade. If you could buy one piece of equipment, what would you recommend he buy that could motivate him, inspiration, and want to get in the sandbox and play dentistry and put a sparkle in his eye again?
Without question, it's cone beam.
Cone beam. Over CAD-CAM, laser.
Here's the deal. I can do restorative dentistry without CAD-CAM. I might not enjoy it. I love my CAD-CAM system. But I can still do dentistry. I can do dentistry the traditional way. Take impression, send it to a lab of my choice, and really get a phenomenal result. But if you take my cone beam away from me, I will walk. I'll walk from dentistry because what I can see in cone beam is simply mind-boggling. I mean, literally, I have a roadmap to my patient's dental needs. I see things that I wasn't anticipating in 1 in 4 patients. Let's take, for example, if I take a patient and I have an FMX and a PAN, and I do a treatment plan on that patient without cone beam. And then I take a cone beam on the patient and reevaluate my treatment plan. It's going to change. And in fact, 1 in 4 patients has an incidental finding in their cone beam that actually has a significant impact on the treatment plan, the long-term treatment plan. And that's significant. And I think that dentistry, as hard as it is, we want to eliminate our failures, and that starts with having the best diagnostic pool. For any one condition, there's 3 different treatment plans, and you know that. But with more objective data, we can actually get closer to agreeing upon a common treatment plan and making dentistry less of an art form, but more of an objective science.
So in oral radiology, you show them that 3D, they realize they're in NASA, outer space, Galileos, nothing.
Yeah, and absolutely.
You're going over with them.
Absolutely. I review all of my cone beams chairs. That's where the
And are you doing that on a laptop, or are you doing that on a mounted?
So when I said, it's important to be integrated, it's one thing to have the technology, but to be integrated means you have to utilize it in a fashion where it touches the patient before they leave. Where if you take a cone beam, you don't wait till the end of the day to review it and then give the patient a call and say, hey, you have a sinus infection. No, that's not how it works. To capitalize on your investment, you not only have to use it, but you have to show the patients how you use it. So the moment of interest, the peak moment of interest, is when the patient's actually there for the scan. So you owe them, it's an obligation from my perspective, that you owe the patient the opportunity to evaluate the scan with you. So what I do in my practice is I have a monitor that's at the foot of the chair. The moment that cone beam's taken, I seat them back in the chair, I do an intraoral evaluation, head and neck examination, traditional workup, and then the staff will have the cone beam pulled up at the foot of the chair, and I go through it for the very first time. I don't rehearse anything. I don't plan my implants ahead of time so I can magically show them, look how easy it is to do implants. I do it chairside with the intent of doing this co-diagnosis opportunity where we're evaluating the patient with that cone beam for the first time. And honestly, the images, and being an owner of cone beam, you can vouch for this, what you see is what you get. I mean, when you see a large abscess, it looks like an abscess in the cone beam. There's no misinterpretation of no bone. There's just flat space.
If you did this to 100 patients, how many of them would have a little ooh-ah on there sometimes?
They all do. They're all very impressed. But the reality is that a lot of patients have already seen this, right? So they've already been to the hospital for either their family member or something like that. So they've seen these technologies. So what it does is for the patient's mind, it feels like, what I'm seeing is that it solidifies that, yes, you're the dentist of choice. Because most other dentists, if in the event they get a second and third opinion, are not going to show them the same thing. So I tell my team, we are not trying to push treatment on our patients. We are just planting the seed and educating them on their first visit. And what we've observed is in the event that that patient gets a second opinion or a third opinion, those second opinion and third opinion dentists don't even come close to the way we present the treatment in cone beam. And so that patient calls back saying, I went to a second and third opinion and really like Dr. Patel. It's a little bit out of my range financially. Is there anything we can work out? Is there payment options? So they're calling us back, even after a second and third consult, asking us to do the treatment to work on their terms. That's powerful. Listen, there's so much dentistry that has to be done out there. And I think dentists need to put their guard down and just realize we're all in the same swimming pool. And I think we all need to help each other.
Yeah, and in America, when you have the 3 fastest growing diseases on Earth, number 1 on planet Earth for 70 people is dental caries, followed by obesity, followed by diabetes. So there's room for everyone. Thank you so much for giving me your time. I feel so bad because you have to leave here and go jump straight on stage on time.
So I do. I appreciate you, Howard.
All right.
You've done.
So what is the main marketing takeaways about the cone beam CT one gets from this video? The first thing is the incredible case acceptance rate that it provides, up to 95%, if you do a decent job of immediately exploring the scans with your patients afterwards and lead them to accepting treatment according to what the scan reveals. Even if this drops to 70%, you will still be growing your practice 3 times as fast as the competition. The next thing to note is that it literally operates as a fat new patient pipeline running straight into your operatory. And you control the rate of the new patient flow into your chairs by adjusting the price you charge for your cone beam scans. By lowering the cost of his cone beam scans, Dr. Patel managed to grow his business at an incredible rate of about 200 to 400 new patients per month when he decided to scan every new patient for free. And he had to increase this price in order to slow it down. Now, it's pretty well accepted by dentists that the net lifetime profit value for a new patient comes to about $11,500 over a 12-year period. and is based on the averages for a solo practice and takes everything into account, including your fixed and variable overhead, your churn, your average referral rate, everything. So if there's lifetime value over 12 years, if you discount it by about 44%, you get to the present value of around $5,106 per new patient. Now prices for really awesome cone beam CTs with small footprints and designed to fit into any dental operatory have come down to about $80,000. And that comes to about a monthly lease payment of around $1,400. So let's say you could pay a salesman $1,400 per month to get you 40 new patients per month, each with an average of $11,500 over 12 years, for a total of $460,000. That's a return on investment of more than 15,000% at present discounted rates. So let me ask you this. If you could get these odds at a casino near you, how big would the bankroll be that you could come up with? Now let's not mention all the other clinical diagnosis and reduced liability benefits this technology gives you. One thing is clear, however. Dentists have the greatest magnification and sales tool ever devised, now available for the profit on one root canal treatment. And 80% of dentists are still holding out for better days and leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on the table by sending clients away for cone beam scans. Now you'd have to ask why they willingly are trashing this opportunity of getting case acceptance right after the scan. So if you're one of those dentists sending out cone beam scans, you're literally throwing away a competitive advantage that's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to your practice every year. Now getting one of these for your practice is really a no-brainer. And if you're interested in the best model out there for dentists, just follow the links below when you're done and you will find out more. Anyway, let's move now to the next big opportunity to grow your practice. And here we are talking about digital smile design or simulation. Now the reason why digital smile design is so powerful as a case acceptance tool is that it allows patients to test drive their new smile. And any car salesman knows that getting a client to test drive a car increases the chance of it being sold by 700%. There's a saying among professional marketers that says never to sell people what they need, but that selling them what they want will make you rich. In other words, patients will typically look for a dentist when they have a toothache, and when it happens, they will jump onto Google and try and find the cheapest dentist in the area that seems to have good reviews. And that's really the only criteria. On the other hand, people are willing to obsess and spend a small fortune on stuff they really want, like luxury cars like Mercedes or BMW, Michael Kors handbags, Breitling watches, first-class plane tickets, Oxford dress shoes, limited edition Nike sneakers. And the reason why is that they have an emotional connection with it. In short, they want it because of what they feel it will do for them, whether it will allow them to upstage their brothers-in-law, or impress the new receptionist, or improve their status among their colleagues, or make their kids proud. These are all strong base emotions that drive sales and just about any other human behavior. And this is as compared to the non-emotion, other than for sheer panic maybe, that drives people to get their teeth extracted or toilets repaired. Now, every dentist knows that you can add the perfect smile to those in-demand luxury items, but yet very few dentists make it their business to sell perfect smiles, despite the sales tools being freely available. Now, even though digital smile design provides incredible efficiency and clinical benefits due to being fully integrated with 3D dentistry, the most powerful aspect is often overlooked, and that is to what degree it increases case acceptance as a marketing tool, because of being able to leverage the patient's emotional investment in getting a smile makeover. Now, can you imagine what it will do for your bottom line if you could hand out, say, 100 free smile makeover coupons every week, and how these photo renditions of their perfect smiles will burn holes in their wallet every time they feel embarrassed from having to stop themselves revealing their crooked smiles. Now, I understand that most dentists are afraid of adopting it due to perceived expense and complexity, but if you want to discover an awesome new solution that costs less than $5 per patient and is taking Europe by storm, please follow the links below when you're done. Even if you just get one new cosmetic dentistry case from every 100 redeemed coupons, it'll pay off big time. But you know as well as I do that should you offer them an easy payment plan, you'd be able to sign up at least half of them for smile makeovers every week. Here's a video from one of the most respected aesthetic dentists in the world being interviewed about digital smile design and what it's doing for dentists.
Okay, so bottom line is you're talking to a lot of dentists who might think they do cosmetic dentistry. They're aesthetic dentistry because they do things, but they've never ever used a digital smile design. Talk about a digital smile design and how digital, what is it, what exactly are you using, what software, and how does that help you be an aesthetic cosmetic dentist?
Again, if I think about the things that have changed the way I work, and the one thing for sure is digital smile design. It came about 4 or 5 years ago. I met up with Christian Coachman. In fact, I was first exposed to it by Philip Gurel at his practice in Istanbul. And I have to be honest, the first time I saw it, I thought, okay, this is pretty cool, but it looks like a little bit of a gimmicky thing, and I'm not sure that it's going to stick around. But, wow, I must say that I'm absolutely 100% convinced. We do it for every case, whether it's just two teeth, full mouth rehabilitation. It's the starting point of the treatment planning. I think the key thing about treatment planning is facial integration. Is that I can remember the times where you were given models and x-rays and you were told to treatment plan. I cannot do a treatment plan without looking at the face. The face will control the rest of the diagnosis or the rest of the planning situation. So we have to, it's a facially driven treatment process rather than a tooth driven treatment process. So we integrate really the teeth with the face and then we move it forward. And I think that what it does is it allows us to work out so many different parameters, that need to be thought about in the planning process. And the workflow, I think that we all know it is that, the DSD or the digital smile design eventually takes us to a wax up. But it's a very detailed wax up that we've not just asked any old lab to make 6 teeth with wax on them. This is a wax up that's been driven by the face. And we've determined where the teeth need to go. And from there you can start to answer all the other questions about bone grafting, about periodontal, about orthodontics. And then it provides us with a communication tool to speak to the other members of maybe a multidisciplinary treatment case. So there are a huge number of benefits from using DSD or digital smile design in a treatment planning case, in a case. Case presentation, there's so much that we take from it. And kind of once we have the outline or the mock-up or the whatever you want to call it, and you're happy with everything, then it makes the rest of the treatment process quite simple, because really you're taking a design that you've agreed upon, maybe the team, you and the patient, and you're just moving it through from the beginning to the end.
Now, the next visual tool that's so often compromised on is also an absolute winner to turbocharge your case acceptance rates, especially if you aren't a good communicator yet, or if the treatment plans you are currently putting out are too confusing or too technical. Just think about it. All your years of experience and study and struggle to understand your procedures and the vagaries of the most effective materials and files and burrs, everything you know is condensed into the treatment plans that you're currently presenting to your patients. So what would be the point of settling for substandard treatment plan presentations that undermine your efforts to get case acceptance? Now just follow the links below later to check out the most effective and affordable treatment plan presentation software on the market today. Now the next game changer relates to the flow of patients through your practice. And you may have heard from the first video that Dr. Farron and Dr. Bill Williams rant on about the importance of getting an extra operatory, or even 2, and that you are shooting yourself in the foot if you ever have to get patients to wait for a chair. Now having more than enough chairs at hand and using a brand new carbide or diamond burr for each new patient just makes pure logical sense in terms of patient flow. So if you think about it, your profit flows into your rooms as fast as what happy patients flow out of your rooms. And any bottleneck along the way determines the pace of the value flowing out of your practice and, by implication, the profit flowing into your bank account. You absolutely have to check out how patient flow optimization can change lead times and patient waiting times. In the past, you may have gotten away with letting patients wait too long, but these days they'll be out of the door on their way to your competitor whilst typing scathing reviews about your ridiculous waiting times on Google and Yelp before they even get to their cars. The science of value flow through your practice is super important because it is capable of doubling your operatory's capacity by simply following some logical steps that none of your competitors are even thinking about. As a matter of fact, Toyota's factories have perfected the science called lean over the last 4 years. The other groundbreaking theory for maximizing flow throughout your practice comes from an Israeli physicist, Dr. Eli Goldratt, who published a short novel called The Goal to demonstrate the principles of a discipline called Theory of Constraints, or TOC. One Jacksonville-based dentist in the United States took the time to implement some important parts of these theories in his own practice, and he has achieved unbelievable results, including the following. Well, firstly, he reduced treatment time by 90%, from 99 to only 10 days. Secondly, had an 82% increase in the hours available to the dentist. The next thing is that his patient waiting times reduced to no more than 5 minutes. And all of this he accomplished with 10% less support staff than before. Now just think for yourself what effect these improvements would have on your word-of-mouth advertising, especially from patients who need more complex procedures done, and who now manage to get it done in one sitting, or perhaps in, say, 5 days, instead of the weeks and months that it normally took. Now think of what that reduction in lead time does for your cash flow, and what the extra uncovered capacity will do for your profitability. Implementing these amazing systems will change your world. Just watch this video to see what he says about his experiences.
The changes we've done are exactly the same changes that you would do in a manufacturing setting. See, when I studied Shingo and Odo, they say that the obstacle to one piece below the main obstacle is setups. You need to make your setups go fast, and that's why they called Shingo, and he reduced their setups from 12 hours to less than 10 minutes. We called it single-minute exchange of dice. So we learned that, and we reduced our setups to where changing from one procedure to the other did not require making another appointment. And we realized that our main enemy is appointments. If you treat them out in many appointments, then you are losing and the patient is losing. So we changed our setups around the patient and around the work area to where we could move from one kind of treatment like a filling to a root canal, let's say, without changing setups at all. Then we worked on turning the room over from one patient to the other. So now within a few minutes we can receive the patient in the room. And I think mainly it's working with people. Our assistants, our hygienists, inside their heart, inside their mind, they're ready. Whenever they find a cavity on a patient, they're ready to start right away. The impact was that we used to take like seven visits on average to finish him out, to bring it back health. Now it takes us on average a visit and a half. It used to take something like 270 days to finish him out. If you count all the spaces between the appointments, all the waits between the appointments, now it takes something like 10 days. So the impact on the patients is tremendous because now they know that they can fit their appointments in their schedule, their daily schedule. If you're leaving work, let's say for an hour, and you know you're going to spend half an hour at the dentist, now it's predictable. You know that you can go and come back to work. On the practice, it's been very good because now we're much more organized. Work is much more relaxing than before. And patients don't wait. We used to have like a 2-hour wait in our waiting room. Now it's really either 0 seconds or maybe a few minutes. You know, it's much relaxing, much more respectful for the patient's time, and also more respectful to the employee's time. The hygienist is not waiting for me anymore like she used to come and check on her patients. The assistant doesn't wait for me. So it is more respectful for everybody's time.
So if you want to implement these game-changing ideas in your practice, just follow the links below after this video, and we'll point you in the right direction. Now we're almost getting to the end of our list, but the next one is so essential, yet 95% of dentists give it a miss because of perceived complexity. And what we're talking about here is email marketing. And this is why it's an essential profit booster. As mentioned before, the average lifetime profit of a new patient is about $11,500 over a 12-year period. Consider that the only three methods to increase your profits would be to either charge more for your services, charge more often for your services, and lastly, get new patients to purchase. So the most overlooked fact is that existing clients are 75% more likely to buy from you than new clients, and that the average client has to see your offer at least 6 times before they decide to support you. For this reason, email marketing is the most cost-effective method of getting new referrals and making more sales. It also allows you to keep in touch with them, to promote new services, or to broadcast that you have a new piece of equipment, or to fill an empty spot when you have cancellations, or to point people to special offers on your website during quiet times, or to share news of new services you offer. So even if you just use this list to congratulate people on their birthdays and wedding anniversaries, the return will be enormous. As mentioned, the perceived barrier was always finding the right software, and here we have tracked on the simplest and most amazing solution currently available. Once again, just follow the links at the bottom of the video to learn more when you're done. Now, there's another surefire method to massively increase your profit and grow your practice. And this is to ensure that every one of your clients gets a 5-star experience at your practice. Today's patients hate being treated like cattle, mostly because they don't have to. So herding them into government-style waiting rooms with hard chairs and 15-year-old magazines, only to be called into the doctor's operatory in a fishwife-like manner, will have patients on their phones leaving scathing reviews on Google before they even reach their cars. You won't see them again. Unfortunately, this kind of complacency still reigns supreme in many dentist practice, and you can take advantage of it by walking one of your staff through a typical visit whilst coming up with any small client care details that will make them feel like a movie star. So it may start off with everyone remembering the names and having a bright and airy waiting room with soft, comfortable seating and free Wi-Fi access, and a well-stocked coffee and tea bar, and perhaps a padded sandbox filled with toys to keep toddlers and small kids entertained. Next, you can present patients with a steaming towelette whilst on the chair and after treatment, and inquiring by name as to the well-being of the patient's wife, their kids, their hobbies, his job. You can do this at every opportunity. And you also know the patient's next appointment date without having to call it up on the computer. There's a well-known Australian dentist, Dr. David Moffat, who has built $1 million practices by simply ensuring 5-star treatment for his patients, and you can get his book from Amazon. Now let's move on to one of the most overlooked marketing tools for your practice. Remember what Dr. Bill Williams said, that the sales tools that gives you the biggest bang for your buck is the outdoor sign? Now, it makes a lot of sense spending on a really visible and weatherproof sign that doesn't fade over time, as this one-off investment will act as your first point of contact for hundreds of thousands of drive-by and walk-by exposures over time. So you would think that making it really colourful and visible would be the most effective means of getting it to get bums in seats, but you'd be dead wrong. Of course, it should be as bright and as eye-catching as possible, and we'd even suggest neon if your budget allows. But by far, the most important client-attracting aspect of your sign is your headline. Now, not so long ago, finding the perfect wording for your headline would have been an expensive hit-and-miss affair, as it would have been almost impossible to test, but not anymore. Today, the single most cost-effective marketing exercise you can go through for ensuring the success of your practice is to use Google AdWords and Facebook advertising together with multivariate testing to derive your optimal and highest converting headlines. The difference between two headlines can be enormous and very perplexing to say the least. Time and time, online marketers are caught out by using a headline they fully believe in, but after testing, it's often the most overlooked one that comes out the clear winner, and in most cases by a huge factor. Furthermore, even though it is fairly complex business, It is lately quite an affordable exercise, and what's more is that it will be self-liquidating in terms of you at least breaking even in the process of discovering it. This is where my 20 years of experience in online marketing can help. All the secrets I've given you until now have been from other vendors, and the reason is because I'm not an expert in everything. But when it comes to helping you make the most of your online marketing, I am your man. So let's just quickly cover what our online service can do for your website and your Facebook advertising results. Now, firstly, your website. And yeah, I'm happy to report that Google has a new ranking algorithm called RankBrain that will finally allow you to appear on the first page of Google search results for the keywords you want. And that we will need to first fix the technical fundamentals of your existing website and remove any toxic backlinks keeping it from ranking. Now, the reason why RankBrain is so powerful is because it ranks websites according to how well you engage your visitors. Now, because none of your competitors really know this, all you have to do is create the kind of content that keeps your visitors on your website for longer than your competitors, and you will soon outrank them. Now, of course, you still need powerful, trustworthy backlinks pointing to your website, and it has to be optimized for mobile phones and be very fast to load. Now, check out this video from one of the most respected SEO professionals explaining his experience with the new RankBrain algorithm.
There's a new Google ranking factor that's huge right now. And when you take advantage of it, you can find yourself with higher rankings and more traffic. And if you ignore it, well, let's just say that you're missing out on a ton of high-quality traffic. I'm Brian Dean, the founder of Backlinko, the place where marketers turn for high rankings and more traffic. And in this video, I'm going to reveal what this new ranking factor is in 3 practical ways that you can take advantage of it. I'll also show you the results of a real-life case study that might surprise you. Keep watching. A while back, I published a post on my blog called How to Get High-Quality Backlinks Without Guest Posting. And like all of my blog posts, I made sure to optimize this post around a keyword. In this case, the keyword was high-quality backlinks. Sure enough, thanks to the white hat links that I built to that post, it quickly hit the first page for that keyword. But here's where things got weird. One day I was checking my Google rankings and I saw something that made me almost fall out of my seat. Not only was I ranking for high-quality backlinks, but I also ranked on the first page for the keyword how to get high. Say what? Needless to say, my post had nothing to do with getting high. But then I realized why Google ranked me for that keyword. It's because I had the keyword how to get high in my content. But here's where things got really interesting. Most people that came to my site from Google spent nearly 3 minutes on my site. But for this page, the average is only 1 minute and 12 seconds. Less than half of my site-wide average. So what's going on here? When people searched for how to get high and clicked on my result, they quickly realized that I wasn't going to teach them how to make their own Breaking Bad style meth lab. So they quickly hit their back button and left. This told Google in black and white. People searching for how to get high hate this page. And Google took action. A few weeks later, my page dropped like a stone for the keyword how to get high. It literally went from number 6 to 12 to 21 to 33 in a matter of days. But check this out. My ranking for the keyword high quality backlinks didn't drop. In fact, they continued to climb. Why? Because people searching for high quality backlinks stuck to my site like super glue. How do I know? After my rankings for how to get high dropped, the overall bounce rate and time on page for my article significantly improved. Now in a minute, I'll show you how you can easily keep Google searchers on your site longer. But for now, I want to show you where things stand today. Today, my page ranks number 1 in Google for the keyword high quality backlinks. And for the keyword how to get high, I'm nowhere to be found. That's the power of this new ranking factor. So what's the takeaway lesson from this story? Even though backlinks continue to be the cornerstone of Google's algorithm, it's clear that user experience signals influence search engine rankings today. I'm about to show you 3 practical ways that you can take advantage of these user experience signals, including my favorite, the ATP formula. But first, I want to tell you another quick story to show you just how important user experience signals are today. A few years back, tech writer Stephen Levy wrote an insider account of Google called In the Plex. In that book, Stephen states, on the most basic level, Google could see how satisfied users were. The best sign of their happiness was the long click. In other words, when people click on your site in Google and stick around, it sends a very strong message that your page makes searchers happy. But when people quickly leave your site like they're on a pogo stick, it tells Google the opposite. It shows them that your page isn't a good fit for that keyword. The question is, how can you get people to stick to your site so that Google sees you as the best result for that keyword? The answer? The 3 insanely actionable techniques that I'm going to show you right now. First up, we have bucket brigades. Before I got into SEO, I used to work as a freelance copywriter, and I had a problem. A lot of my clients would hire me to write these crazy long 6,000 word sales letters. You know those sales pages that are like 25 pages long, and you have to keep scrolling and scrolling to get to the end? I wrote those all the time. The problem I had was this. It's really hard to keep people on a page that's 6,000 words long. People don't have the attention span to skim that much content, never mind read it. And I tried every trick in the book to keep people's attention. I tried images. I tried videos. I tried storytelling. I tried everything. But the sales letters just weren't compelling enough to keep people from hitting their back button. And then one day, I had a breakthrough. I discovered a little-known technique called bucket brigades that copywriters have been using for decades. And these bucket brigades instantly made my content much more compelling. So, what are they? Bucket brigades are words and phrases that keep people on your page. Specifically, they make your visitors want to keep reading. For example, I have a post on my site called How to Boost Conversions by 529%. And the average time on page for that article is almost 4 minutes. And a good chunk of that above average time on page is due to bucket brigades, like this, and this, and this. When you see one of those bucket brigades, it opens up a little information gap in your mind, and you can't help but read the next sentence. Bottom line, whenever you have a place in your content where people might get bored and hit their back button, add a bucket brigade. Here are a few other bucket brigades that you can include in your content. Once you've added to bucket brigades to your content, it's time for strategy number 2, benefit-driven subheadings. Let me ask you something. Which of these 2 posts would you rather read? If you're like most people, you prefer the one on the left. Why? Because the content on the left is broken up with subheadings. In my experience, subheadings are huge. You can never use enough of them. For example, my post 17 insanely actionable list building strategies has an average time on page of over 5 minutes. The number one reason? Because the post contains lots and lots of subheadings. But not just any subheadings, benefit-driven subheadings. I'll explain. Most people use random subheadings like this. Sure, that does break your content up into easy-to-read chunks. But random subheaders like that won't grab your reader's attention and make them say to themselves, wow, there's a ton of value here. Fortunately, there's a quick fix for that. Include benefits in your subheaders. For example, in my list building post, I use benefit-rich copy in almost every subheading. Instead of a bland subheading like focus on your thank you page, I put the benefit front and center. Okay, so I saved the best for last, the APP formula. Here's the truth. When someone visits your page from Google, you have 2 seconds to convince them to stick around. Not 10, not 5, 2. And if you lose them in those 2 seconds, you lose them for good. But if you hit your visitor off with something amazing right off the bat, they're much more likely to stick around. And as you saw earlier in this video, this boost in time on page can be huge for your Google rankings. And whenever I need to improve the time on page for one of my articles, I turn to the APP formula. So what is it? The APP formula is a proven content introduction framework that's designed to do one thing. Keep Google visitors on your page longer. Here's what the APP formula looks like. As you can see, APP stands for agree, promise, and preview. Now I'm going to break each of these 3 elements down and show you a real-life example of how I use the APP formula to keep Google searchers on my page. First up, we have agree. If you want to start your intro off with an idea or concept that someone searching for your keyword will agree with. This shows that you understand their problem. And when someone sees that you understand them and their problems, they're much more likely to stick around. For example, a while back, I published a blog post that showed people how to create a high-converting squeeze page. Here's the intro from that post. See how I say, I think you'll agree with me when I say it's really hard to convert ice-cold traffic into email subscribers? That's something that anyone trying to build an email list can relate to. Now that you've got them nodding their head in agreement, it's time for the promise. The promise is where you give your reader a peek into a better world. Here's an example from my squeeze page post. Most people think that you need to run hundreds of A/B tests to get more email signups. But my promise shows that there's an easier way. Finally, hit them with the preview. There's no need to beat around the bush here. Your preview just needs to tell your reader exactly what you have in store for them. For example, here's a preview from my social squeeze page post. And once you put the finishing touches on your preview, you're set. You now have an introduction that keeps Google searchers on your site and a page that Google will want to show to more people.
Well, you've already been watching for an hour, and I'm sure your attention span has hit its limit by now. I hope this information was valuable to you. And if you want to find out more about any of the products I mentioned, you'll find some links below. On the other hand, if you want help getting hundreds of new clients from Facebook, or to massively increase your organic or natural traffic from Google search results, or determine the demand for your dental services, as well as your very best headlines and your top converting practice slogan, or even if you just want to get into your high performing website, then please watch our next video. If you want to check the status of your website, please don't forget to download your free comprehensive 41-point website analysis report that will show you exactly what to fix to increase your rankings. Simply click the button below and provide us with your website address. This free report is worth at least $100, so grab it now by just clicking the button below. Thank you very much.